back to our ADB Institute 2025 annual conference. This session, we will have a panel discussion on promoting regional cooperation and integration to achieve high income status in the region. The session will be moderated by Professor Tetsushi Sonobe, who is currently an ADBI fellow at the ADB Institute and a professor at the National Institute for Policy Studies, GRIPS. Professor Sonobe is also currently served as a president of the Japanese Association for Development Economics, and he has served as the vice president of GRIPS before, as well as the dean and the CEO of the Asian Development Bank Institute. Professor Sonobe, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Dr. Arif. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from Tokyo. I'm very happy to join in this important session. As you might already recognize, the title of this session is almost the same as the title of the conference. That is, Fostering RCI for Attaining High-Income Asia. So this similarity of titles illustrates how important this session is. And I think the expected role of the session is to introduce important issues regarding Asia's RCI and economic growth. Before embarking on, I'd like to point out some basic facts. ADB is now 59 years old. ASEAN is 58 years old and now has 11 member states. SAAC, or South Asian Association for Regional Cooperation, is 40 years old, and the Chiang Mai Initiative is 25 years old. So in this sense, RCI is getting matured in this region, but it is growing dynamically, and especially regional integration is moving fast. According to ADB's Asian Economic Integration Report 2025, the degree of Asia's trade integration is comparable to that of the European Union, plus the United Kingdom. The number of intra-Asian preferential trade agreements increased from only 4 in 1990 to 77 in 2023. And there are more than 100 agreements with economies outside our region. So trade integration is getting matured. But trade integration is just one of 4 important aspects of regional integration. Regional integration in terms of foreign direct investment is less developed than that of the trade integration. Okay, but we are seeing rapid progress in this aspect as well, especially in the service sector. The remaining aspects are financial integration and the movement of people, such as migration, remittance, and tourism. In these 2 aspects, Asia's regional integration has much room for further development. The purpose of this session is to review the past progress in RCI in Asia and discuss the future of RCI and the possibility of navigating this future RCI to promote the region's sustainable development. We have a fantastic trio of discussants. Each of the 3 will provide 10-minute remarks, which is the first round. In the second round, I'll ask a few questions consisting of my own question and a question from the audience or 2. So I'd like to request the audience to put your questions in the Q&A box or chat box. The first speaker is Professor Dr. Bambang Brodjonegoro, who is ADBI's Dean and CEO. before joining ADBI in April this year. He served the government of Indonesia in several senior leadership roles, including a special advisor to the president, Minister of Finance, Minister of National Development Planning, and Minister of Research and Technology. Before joining the government, he was Dean and full professor of the Faculty of Economics and Business, University of Indonesia. So Dean Bambang, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Sonobe Sensei, and very good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, depending on where you are. So let me first maybe share with you the idea why ADBI finally has the topic of RCI for this year annual conference that will also in line with the topic of this session. So, of course, it was triggered, especially by the World Development Report 2024 with the title Middle Income Trap. And one of the trigger is basically the data that's showing that currently there are about 100 countries in the world with the status of middle income countries. While from 1990s up to 2024, there have been only 34 countries avoiding middle income trap, meaning that they are now part of the high income economy. Out of the 34 countries, unfortunately, Asia only contributed 5 of them. And one of the 5, of course, we know very well, is South Korea, while the other 4 is more on the oil producing country in the Middle East. And then out of the 34, 15 of them is located in Europe. And in fact, all of the 15 are member of European Union. And majority of them also geographically located in the eastern side of Europe, meaning that majority of the new high-income economy in Europe are also new members of EU because they were not part of the original member of EU. They just joined EU mostly in 2007, 2008. So, based on this World Development Report, we are thinking what happened with Asia, because in Asia, we used to have the so-called Asian miracle, or more exactly, East Asian miracle back in 1990s, in which some economies avoiding middle income trap, with South Korea again as the most notable example. So if we learn back in 1990s, of course, the idea of regional cooperation integration might not be quite obvious, because at that time it's more on, export promotion strategy done by the countries that can avoid the middle income trap, and also supported by proper industrial policy, and then also the competitiveness in doing the international trade. So those are kind of recipe of countries that already having their status as high income economy and avoiding middle income trap. But at the same time, of course, we know that the idea of free trade agreement or trying to make more interregional trade has been there, especially in Asia. And of course, ASEAN Free Trade Agreement also has been there for quite some time. And it's not only AFTA, ASEAN Free Trade Agreement, but also AFTA with China, AFTA with Japan, AFTA with Korea, and AFTA with some other trade partners. So everything is there, but at that time, RCI is not really part of the success of the Asia miracle. But now, the so-called miracle happened in the eastern part of Europe. And of course, there are many reasons why they've become the high-income economy only in very short period of time. You can imagine that if they joined EU in 2007, some of them already high-income economy even 10 or 15 years after joining EU. So it's very quick compared to the time that needed by now the middle-income countries in Asia. If you look at the current situation in Asia, for example, in Southeast Asia, there are 3 countries with the status of upper middle income: Thailand, Malaysia, and Indonesia. And also we have China that's very close to become high-income economy, but they are still upper middle, at least for this year. And in other parts of Asia, there are some upper middle in Central and West Asia, and only one, I believe, in South Asia. So the question now, what should this upper middle income country do in order to avoid the middle income trap, at least in the near future? Well, if we just refer to what happened in 1990s during East Asian Miracle, maybe the recipe will be how to improve industrial policy, how to improve the macroeconomic management, and all the things related to the country's individual effort in order to avoid the middle income trap. But I believe, as President Kanda rightly mentioned at the opening of this annual conference, the headwinds towards this upper middle income Asia are now very, very strong. Not only because of the tariff, so-called tariff war that initiated by the US, but also by different kind of situation in which the upper middle Asia now might not be able to just copy what East Asia has been doing during the Asian Miracle. Meaning that the industrial policy, sound macroeconomic management might not be enough. I mean, it will be necessary, but maybe not sufficient in order to avoid middle income trap for this upper middle income Asia. And learning from what happened in Eastern Europe, it was quite clear. There could be many reasons why this Eastern European becoming high-income economy. But I believe one of them must be because their existence as members of EU. And if we learn about kind of accession process of the potential new member to become EU member, then we know that the integration is very important, meaning that it's not only about enlarging your market with the kind of common trade agreement, but more importantly, how to standardize your economic and all your government standard with what has happened in the western part of the European Union. Meaning that it's not only tariff reduction that will help countries to expand their economy or to increase their economic growth, but it is beyond the tariff reduction. Beyond tariff reduction means that Asia needs deeper integration. And when we are talking about deeper integration, sometimes people misunderstand. I mean, some people told me, oh, if you propose Asia to become like EU, then it won't work because, the kind of ideological difference, and also the size of the economy is quite different, so it might not work. But I believe we don't have to go directly to the EU way, but we can adopt some of the best practices that has happened in Eastern European. And Sonobe Sensei at the beginning already mentioned about the need to deepening the integration aside from the trade integration, and including, for example, FDI. Because if we learn what happened in European situation, one of the important aspects why this Eastern European can have relatively higher economic growth for a certain period of time is because there is a strong FDI from the most developed EU members to the eastern part of European countries, meaning that FDI is very crucial to help the countries to get the source of investment. And we know if we have higher investment growth, then it will accelerate the total economic growth itself. So it means deeper integration to attract FDI will be very necessary for the so-called the Asian model of regional cooperation and integration. And aside from the FDI, of course, financial integration will be the key. Of course, we don't have to, again, follow the EU with a single currency of euro, and they have like European Central Bank and etc. But we already have the ASEAN Plus 3. We already had, as Sonobe Sensei mentioned, Chiang Mai Initiative Multilateralization for 25 years. So there is a room to improve our so-called financial integration using the ASEAN Plus 3 model, at least how to operationalize more the Chiang Mai Initiative Multilateralization in order to ensure the macroeconomic stabilization at least in the eastern part of Asia. And then, of course, we can talk about how to integrate payment system and others. And again, to close my remark, I would like to emphasize the importance of the integration from so-called the policy side, meaning that the Asia needs more institutionalization of integration in terms of, for example, harmonized standard, regulatory interoperability, and coordinated regional mechanism. I think this has been implemented very well in Europe. When they did the accession process to become EU member, I think they have to pass all these kind of requests and also requirement in order to fulfill, in order to make their standard at the same level of playing field with the more developed members of EU. So as a result, as we know very well, 15 countries of Eastern Europe, not 15, I think 12 out of 15 are coming from the Eastern Europe. Now they become the high income economy. So in short, I would like to propose that Asia, including of course ADB as one of the very important organization, should promote more RCI as a way to help the upper middle income countries, especially to avoid middle income trap, and someday they will find a way to be high income economy. And again, it should be way beyond tariff reduction. And remember, we already have everything on board. We have, at least for East Asia, we have ASEAN Plus 3, including Chiang Mai Initiative, and we also have, for example, RCEP for more trade integration. So we have maybe everything on the table, but how to integrate those on the table, I think will be our big homework. So thank you very much, and I would like to give the floor back to Sonobe Sensei.
Okay, thank you very much, Dean Bambang, for your excellent remarks. Oh, can you hear me? Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't think I have received any question from the audience. So please try to write your comments or question on the chat box or Q&A box. Now our second speaker is Dr. Justine Diokno-Sicat, a member of the Board of Directors of ADB, representing the Philippines, Kazakhstan, Maldives, Marshall Islands, Mongolia, Pakistan, and Timor-Leste. In her capacity as Executive Director, she was the chair of the Development Effectiveness and Ethics Committees. Before joining ADB, she was a research fellow at the Philippine Government Policy Think Tank, the Philippine Institute for Development Studies, or PIDS. Justine, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Professor Sonobe, and thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with all of the esteemed panelists. Let me just share my presentation, my screen, if I can. I prepared a bit of something for everyone, and I appreciate listening to the remarks earlier, and I will be talking more about what ADB is doing with respect to promoting regional cooperation and integration. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, wonderful. Is it in slideshow mode yet? Sorry about that. Not yet?
Okay.
There you go. Okay, thank you so much. So our first task for today, actually, we were tasked to answer, how can Asia strategically use RCI to accelerate structural transformation, build resilience against global uncertainties, and unlock new drivers of growth needed to achieve high income status? Well, I will answer generally, and these are my ideas, not necessarily ADB's, but for now, so that disclaimer there. But with today's extraordinary challenges, trade fragmentation, technological disruption, and environmental threats, these provide unique opportunities to strengthen resilience and build a brighter future through RCI. Now, as I was thinking of the answers and how to frame it, I thought there were different levels that we should look at this to strengthen regional cooperation and integration. In the case of the national level, countries individually themselves must strive to address investments in physical and human capital with the goal of increased productivity. And I think that also is part of it that could help us get beyond the middle income trap, but that's for another conversation, I guess. But at the same time, policymakers and development thinkers at the not just at the national level should also look towards regional cooperation and integration. Countries must improve delivery of vital utilities such as energy and digital. Connectivity within a country is important, but strengthening connectivity can also serve as a foundation. Let's say for the Asian power grid. I'm saying this now because the board at ADB just approved yesterday a program for Indonesia transitioning to clean energy. So this was an excellent program that's helping the transmission company, PLN of Indonesia. It hits the energy transition to renewable energy goal, but it also prepares and strengthens the transmission grid in preparation for connection to the Asian power grid. So I think that's also how policymakers and development thinkers should view that. But it is not just physical connectivity that is important. And I think this would talk to the point of the Professor Sonobe and Dean Bambang earlier, that it's not just, there's also soft infrastructure. It's not just trade facilitation that's important. There are other things, and this is the soft infrastructure, which I'm a strong advocate for. Institutions, regulatory framework, policy dialogues are all important for regional cooperation. This would lead to more seamless trade, deeper supply chain linkages, and trade facilitations. Now, let me just share with you ADB's regional cooperation and integration institutional identity and evidence that we discussed when I was on the Development Effectiveness Committee. So on the left part of the slide, you can see, rooted in its charter, ADB work in advancing economic cooperation across the Asian Pacific has made it the cornerstone institution, being a thought leader and policy advisor, an honest broker and an enabler, and an operational partner and financier. ADB has 3 strategic RCI principles, which are connectivity, competition, and regional public goods. There are also 3 RCI programs, which are CAREC, Great Mekong Subregion, and the SEACEN. So CAREC would be Central Asia Regional Economic Cooperation Program. SEACEN would be the South Asia Subregional Economic Cooperation Program, and the Greater Mekong Subregional Program. Now, every year at the Development Effectiveness Committee and at the board, we discuss the annual evaluation review of ADB. And particularly for this year in 2025, there was a special chapter and study on the support for regional initiatives and public goods. So strategies have been consistent, adaptive, and responsive to the Asian Pacific needs was one of the findings of this particular special analysis. But there was successful support in connectivity. However, for the other 2 pillars, competitiveness and real public goods, it was found that more work can be done. Now, for sovereign work in 2024 of ADB, or the projects and programs that ADB engaged in 2024, there could have been more regional elements, such as enhancements of border crossing points, linking cross-border infrastructure improvements with trade facilitation reforms. And finally, though, the technical assistance programs that were tagged as regional cooperation integration were strongly efficient through effective regional partnerships. And typically, this is where the dialogues really on policy and having standards across countries come in. Now, the first question, a more specific question that I wanted to answer was, how can RCI be viewed as a pathway to high income status? In this case, ADB currently is reforming its approach to RCI, and there is heightened focus on productivity and resilience. Now, ADB is improving through the 3 strategic areas I mentioned earlier. It's stepping up support for regional productivity in the transport, energy, and digital infrastructure, with a focus on multimodal corridors, cross-border power grids, and trusted data corridors that reduce unit costs, speed up trade, and enable clean energy transition. Helping countries, the second one would be on more competitiveness, but also actually economic benefits to be gained from RCI. So ADB is focusing more on how to gain greater benefits from integration of countries through expanded and diversified trade, enhanced cross-border standards and investments, and strengthen financial flows that are mutually beneficial, including through special economic zones as powerful engines of growth. And finally, on the regional public good and initiatives, ADB is strengthening support for regional initiatives to address transboundary vulnerabilities in climate, environment, health, food security, and other critical areas where market mechanisms are alone provide insufficient. Now, the final question that I want to share work ADB is doing on is on leveraging digital solutions. We were asked, how could cooperative frameworks to promote digital connectivity, cross-border data flows, and innovation ecosystems that enable higher productivity and inclusivity can be defined? Now, we have our newly established and currently being developed digital sector. And they are working on several initiatives, but I will only focus on a few to answer this particular question. First would be digital corridors as an RCI scaffold. This could apply to, there are talks already now with CAREC, with SASEC, even with the ASEAN and the Pacific. So this is a 3-layer approach, again, a lot of threes, 3-layer approach that couples infrastructure with policy and trust frameworks. First, on hard connectivity, cross-border fiber routes, open IXPs, and regional data center interconnect to reduce latency and transit costs. Second, soft connectivity, modest provisions for cross-border data flows, risk-based and interoperable with APEC and OECD approaches, mutual assistance, MOUs between regulators, and streamlined landing rights and rights of way. And the third layer is through digital public infrastructure, mutual recognition of digital ID signatures and verifiable credentials, know your client interoperability and real-time payments, a QR interoperability aligned with ISO 2002 or 2022. I'll get back to you on that. But this highlights the importance of, while you're strengthening your systems within a country, you can also imagine how this would be even more amplified if it's, if you look out to your country for integration and cooperation with your neighbors in the region. Now, second, on cross-border data flow, and this was also a finding in the annual evaluation review I mentioned earlier. The digital sector group is providing a toolkit, a practical how-to package for governments to adopt baseline principles, model clauses, and adequacy pathways for data mobility and protection. Now, I will end my presentation here and open to questions. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you very much. Dr. Justine Diokno. Oh, so it's excellent remarks. So now I'd like to introduce our third speaker, Dr. Cyn-Young Park, the Executive Director of the Southeast Asia Central Bank Research and Training Center, or SEACEN Center, which is the premier regional learning hub for central banks in the Asia-Pacific region. Before joining SEACEN, Dr. Park was a research director and assistant chief economist at ADB. She regularly participated in various global and regional policy forums, such as the G20 Development Working Group, ASEAN, ASEAN Plus 3, Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC, and the Asia-Europe meeting, providing thought leadership. So, Dr. Cyn-Young Park, please start your intervention.
Thank you very much, Dean Sonobe. Sorry, Professor Sonobe. Actually, I'm also very happy to be here with distinguished panelists. I would like to share my perspective a little bit by taking a historic look and then where our where we are now, actually in the regional cooperation integration and how we move forward. So can we go to the next slide, please? Okay. So in fact, oops, there's a okay. Well, I think the regional cooperation integration does help countries to like really increase their economic development level, and then also moving from middle income to high income status. But I really, like if we take a little bit more historic perspective, the regional cooperation and economic openness served the region very well. Actually, Asia's export-led and low-cost labor model did help the region integrate into the global supply chain, and that also really supported that industrialization in many Asian economies. But given the changing geopolitical environment that we also face significant challenge in relying on this traditional like a model of the regional integration that really more anchored on this supply chain. Asia is actually the successful this growth model, like with especially open trade and then the GBC integration, now face structural challenges. The reason is that income has increased. We actually have a strong middle income. In fact, Asia accounts for about 54% of the global middle income. People, in terms of the population, and in a decade or so, we will get 2 out of 3 middle income population will be actually living in Asia. So the time has changed. It's guys, the model that somehow like we built that Asia's like concentrated on the like the global supply chain in middle part of the global supply chain and manufacturing production, especially tightly connected through the trade of intermediate goods, but serving the middle income and high income demand coming from outside is it's already reaching sort of like the I think plateau of our growth model. We are already the middle income the group, and we should be able to leverage our middle income power to move a little bit beyond this linear model of the global supply chain to the value circle within Asia that really the leverage and then leverage those middle income power, and also moving up in that the value creation for the region. So upgrading the regional value chain is going to be quite important through the inclusive integration in the global value chain. We really need to be more the value creating the participation in global value chain. That's going to be essential for innovation, productivity, and competitiveness. And we have to consciously transform the value, linear value chain into the value circles through the collaborative cross-border efforts. and that can promote the sustainable development and also reduce the inequality. Can we move to the next slide, please? So, next slide, please. Okay. So what do I mean by the value chain upgrading? I mean, we actually have emerging industrial sectors. There are the EV sector, electric vehicle sector, the battery sector, like the packaged food, appliances, mobile devices. These are really sectors that are based on the innovation technology that regional, like a middle high income economies already quite advanced. And these present as key sectors with a strong growth potential in ASEAN Plus. If we look at ASEAN only, the intra-regional trade is between 20 to 25%. It's still relatively low. But if we really widen our regional the network, supply chain and then partnership network to ASEAN Plus, like ASEAN Plus 3, ASEAN Plus even 6, you can actually see that the intra-regional trade runs at like a 2/3 of the total trade, and this is not any lower than even compared to the European Union. So having broader, wider, like this the value chain network is going to be quite important for the value chain upgrade, because it also makes it more like inclusive the value chain that can leverage on the technology that are available within the region, and then also the middle income power that we already have in the region. Investing in the assembly plants and the strategic partnership will certainly help in terms of the technical transfers and reduce the production cost, and therefore really pushing the value upgrading of the regional value chain. The emerging the frontiers, especially like a digital and then green sectors, are going to be quite essential in also presenting this strong value potential. Incorporating the digital green transitions promote the circular value creation, sustainability, and also promote the competitive innovation that are collectively available in the region. Therefore, the regional cooperation can really focus on the aligning the standards, improving the logistics, fostering technology partnership that will strengthen the economic resilience and connectivity. Many of the transfer of technologies or also even the FDI that really needs support of these more harmonious rules, the mutual recognition, and the interoperability of these platforms. So the regional cooperation really has to be in another level. Like we really need to push our regional cooperation to support the value chain upgrade. Next slide, please. And this is really a key in really moving to that direction, the building regional financial ecosystem. First, I think even the previous the panelists mentioned this over and over, like the governance innovations are really key. Especially developing the regional governance framework that based on the mutual recognition, interoperability that can allow collective efforts to promote the innovation and then the technological transfers. And we can also expand the green finance initiatives like through harmonious taxonomy and the disclosure system to encourage the investors to come in the these green sectors that drive the competitiveness and the sustainable markets. A lot of these really need to be supported by the funding availability. Actually, consistently, the region has the excess, collectively, we are excess saving region. In terms of a net saving, we actually have about like 0.3% of the collective GDP in net saving. So what the region has to also recognize that we do oftentimes have the saving that is quite high, being able to support the investment that are needed, but there's not enough the mobilization of the regional saving for regional investment because of still fragmented regional capital markets. That really needs to be addressed through strengthening the market connectivity and then promoting transparency to mitigate risks, and then really build the liquidity and investor confidence against the external shock. Asia's capital markets are expanding rapidly. In terms of the GDP, the region actually now has about 1/3 of the global GDP, and then on the basis of that strong sort of the economic power, Asia hosts 55% of the world listed companies. And our markets are increasingly financing the innovation and the new businesses. But we all recognize that the financial ties, intra-regional financial ties, remain weaker compared to our connections with the markets outside the region. So there's a really vast potential within the region to mobilize the those financing and then also the regional saving for the investment, like especially the digital public infrastructure, as well as the green investment. We should really be address these things like to connect these capital markets more efficiently and then effectively. And to do so, the policy coordination will be essential. These cooperative, the policy approach will enable economic integration, reduce barriers, and then support the pooled investment in infrastructure and technology. Especially in the areas of the financial and then policy areas, can enhance financial stability and supports the resilient economic ecosystem through coordinated actions. Next slide, please. Let me spend a little bit, the little time on how we accelerate the low carbon and the digital economy, and how to really accelerate the upgrading of the upgrading of our regional integration towards more sustainable and an inclusive growth. First, the promoting low carbon technology. Many research actually shows that Asia does have advanced technology, especially in the in the energy sector, and then the renewables, etc. Actually, the technical the capacity is a bit fragmented, though. So the cooperation to promote the transfer of these low carbon technologies are going to be quite important for the region. Adopting the green technology and then expanding the trade in the environmental goods can accelerate that shift to low carbon economies. And that this sort of harmonious the adoption of environmental standards to promote the environment in the environmental goods and services, and also the really foster the technological transfer in the green sector can be much more enhanced through the regional cooperation. And the regional cooperation also helps to develop the green finance mechanisms and by harmonizing taxonomies, guiding sustainable investments. We really need to consider like how to integrate the green and then digital strategies. There are a lot of the green investment side, in the green sectors that can be enabled also through the digital transition. And combining these, the green and then digital approaches can drive the economic transformation and also improve the environmental and social outcomes. Next slide, please. And again, if we want to leverage the middle income sector, we do need to continue to support that the RCI strategy are really inclusive. So by empowering the SMEs and then the marginalized groups, there are supportive policies on access. By creating the policies that support the SMEs and the marginalized groups to improve access to finance and then the digital infrastructure. We also need to support the ecosystem for innovation. The really collaborative innovation ecosystem can promote the innovation and entrepreneurship, which will enable marginalized groups to join the regional value chain and also contribute towards the value creation. Boosting digital connectivity is important. Investing in the digital infrastructure and enhancing digital literacy fosters innovative ecosystem and the digital revolution. And finally, the investing in human capital. Some time ago, I actually did a study on the middle income, the trap. And in fact, by reviewing, by analyzing, about 50 decades of experience globally, how some countries actually move up from the in the income quantiles, we see the significant impact, significant effects from the contribution in the human capital accumulation. So the two always come up like a very significant. One is the physical capital. So investment is very important. Technology, productivity growth that are combined with this physical accumulation is important. But what also shows up very significant is the technology combined with, it's really embedded in the human capital. So human capital, the accumulation comes up, very significantly and then positive effect on the countries that are, pushing that frontier of their growth trajectory, and then moving really towards a different sort of a level of growth group. So investing in human capital is very important through the, investment in health, education, skills development. That's going to be a core to build the resilient and then inclusive workforce and support the inclusive growth. Next slide, please. So this is my final key takeaways. Again, regional cooperation is really the core element that builds resilience, competitiveness, and sustainable growth through shared resources and innovations. We do need to leverage the middle income power through domestic demand and the middle class growth to stimulate the economic activity and really, transform that, sort of like Asia's factory-based growth model towards more resilient, inclusive value circle that are anchored in our own the middle income and then domestic demand. And green digital inclusive strategies are core the growth strategy, which we should focus on on these strategies to help countries address the global challenges and then seize development opportunities. And then finally, integrating regional value chain, financial ecosystems, and then policies can also create a strong base for economic upgrading. Thank you, and I'm very happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Cyn-Young Park. Those are really, nice and seemingly very effective approaches. Now, I'd like to move to the second round, and I'd like to ask some questions to each of the three discussants. And then there is one question just came. This is for whom? Do you sense there is great appetite for deeper regional cooperation integration with or U.S. trade policy? This is a bit difficult one, but I have a kind of immediate question to Dr. Cyn-Young. So maybe please allow me to change the sequence, and then I'd like to start from the Dr. Cyn-Young Park. So are those nice ideas and approaches you just presented, your organization, SEACEN Center's approach, or whether they are the kind of mixture of SEACEN Center's efforts and other organizations' efforts, or just your kind of idea, personal idea? So that's my first question, immediate question.
The presentation is actually really based on my experience as more like the RCI expert, from ADBI, and then working with the region for a really long time. But with the SEACEN, our core mandate really is supporting the 19-member central bank in the region, our members, to strategically support the growth and the stability. I mean, this is a kind of core mandates of the central bank. So we focus a lot more in terms of the financial cooperation. I actually feel that it's very important to strategically the focus and then prioritize the financial integration in the region, because in many ways, actually, the region's economic integration has been driven by the trade integration. But we do have a vast potential in upscaling the financial integration, even to the level of Asia's trade integration. If, as I mentioned, actually, Asia's integration and openness in the international financial market has been driven more with the integration with the global markets rather than actually within region. So intra-regional financial integration still lag behind that Asia's financial openness integration with the global market. It's kind of interesting because if we look at some of the numbers, the Asia's integration into global finance has been remarkable. Our cross-border financial assets actually more than double. In 2012, around the time the MNO was CMIM, etc., was actually really now building the 10 trillion US dollars. Now in 2023, it was actually $26 trillion. It's such a large amount. And we look at how much CMIM is lending capacity. So 240 billion. So compared to that large amount, it's still very kind of like limited. So of course it is important to operationalize, and then but we really need to consider that how we create more connectivity across the regional capital markets for the collective resilience. It's not just about the safety net. It has to be really about building the liquidity and through connectivity in the regional financial market. And SEACEN has been supporting the regional central bank in terms of there's also like promoting the dialogue in terms of connectivity, linking market infrastructures. We do also engage in capacity building to support the many ASEAN economies in their efforts, and then share also the experiences. Advancing the regional governance for innovation, as already mentioned, that the governance that are really allowing that kind of like the interoperability and the cross-border activities are very important, because the innovation will be only possible, and then by basis of these interoperability, and then also the mutual recognition of these governance setup, and then harnessing the private capital for sustainability, in terms of the green social sustainability, the capital. We should really try to get these regional central bank to cooperate, and then set up the common sort of like a platform to mobilize the regional capital to increase the investment in these areas. So thank you very much.
Okay.
That's actually
Great.
what I tried to
Yeah,
do.
thank you very much for letting us know what the SEACEN Center. Okay, that's also very important and becoming more and more important. So let me go to this question in the Q&A box. The question from Rias Reed. This says, do you sense there is a greater appetite for deeper regional cooperation and integration within ASEAN Plus 3 today, given the current global uncertainty and the recent shift in US trade policy, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so as already the Dean Bambang emphasized, one of the important kind of background behind the increasing interest in the regional cooperation and integration is this question of why becoming high-income state, high-income countries is so difficult for middle-income economies. But another possibly important background would be this, rising policy uncertainties and the geopolitical, geoeconomic, concerns. So this issue of the regional integration and cooperation is a really important, timely topic, and so that's why I'm very much, grateful to Dean Bambang for selecting this very important topic for this conference. So, and if any discussant, if you have additional comment on this first question from the audience, please let me know. And then I will ask you to, make it, to deliver to the audience. So the next speaker will be Dr. Justine. So you talked about the approach of ADB to RCI, but what the region, and the students of the middle income countries in the region expect from the international organizations, the big corporations, the regional organizations, and their own governments to support the further RCI and the further sustainable development of the economies. So, what's the kind of division of labor among those different types of organizations? Do you
Okay, thank you so much, Professor Sonobe, and thank you so much to Cyn-Young earlier. Actually, before I answer your question, I just found it very interesting how she mentioned her study that looked at what helped middle income become high income. And this is investing in human capital. I'm a strong advocate for that, but also with technological innovation. So it brings me to the theory of endogenous growth theory, where you have labor augmenting technological progress as really contributing to higher incomes because of higher productivity. So thank you for sharing that. Maybe we can discuss that offline sometime. I find it very interesting. But back to your question, Professor Sonobe. So I did a bit of homework at the division of labor, as you say, between MDBs, bilateral aid agencies, as well as the private sector. So we need all of these different parts of the economy and the global economy to work together to bring us to high income status. MDBs such as ADB have a comparative advantage in connectivity, especially when it comes to transport, energy, digital. We have the ability, well, at least I can speak for ADB, to broker through technical assistance and through our regional programs, different transformational projects that could enhance regional corridors and enhance trade through that. But also, we have the convening power to have high-level strategic discussions of different levels of government through our programs, CAREC, SASEC, as well as GMS. Now, for the bilateral aid agencies, in the case of ADB, how they work is that they offer specific expertise in financing soft areas, which are vital to complement hard infrastructure initiatives. This would be, let's say, technical assistance for the development of RCI projects, or to support trade facilitation and harmonization of customs policies. And we cannot emphasize this more because you may have the roads connecting two countries, but if when you get to the border and you want to trade the goods, if their standards are not digitalized, it could take days or even months before you can get the trade to cross there. So I think that's one of the important issues that soft issues attend to, and there you need the upstream work, as we call it, but this would be the institutions and the regulatory framework and the strategies and the standards, which Dean Bambang also mentioned earlier, across the different countries, in order for that physical connectivity to allow for trade facilitation. Exactly. Now, for the private sector and the MSMEs and the big businesses, they do have a huge role also in participating, maybe through cross-border investments, through joint ventures to promote industry and innovations and economic opportunities, as well as what Cyn-Young mentioned earlier, the need for strengthened and more deep and integrated value circles or chains, as she said. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Justine. So, yes, yes, I'm very nice answer. So you did great homework. So we are having the second question from the audience. So the Ali Hasnain says this: sustainability is a global challenge. How can possible sustainability challenges in Asia should be addressed? Yeah, of course, everybody knows at least part of the answer. So the use of new technology, that will be a very important approach. Another would be the, navigating people, or maybe starting from the boosting the awareness of the importance of sustainability further, and then navigating people to do a kind of behavioral change, right? Toward the kind of lifestyle for environment or sustainability. That's a more difficult part. And even the use of new technology, which may sound easy, but actually it will be very difficult. So when it comes to digital technologies, we need to prevent the cyber crimes and then protect data privacy and lots of things. And also preventing the big tech companies from exercising the monopoly power and et cetera, et cetera. And then again, the division of labor among global forum and the regional forum about those making the global regulations or standards and those things. So lots of argument will be needed, discussions will be needed. So please discuss that. If you have further comment to this question, please raise your hand, or Cyn-Young is already raising hand. So, so Cyn-Young, please.
Thank you. I think regional cooperation in actually trade policy and then green finance are quite instrumental actually. The regional strategy in also trade policy can include like lower barriers to trade and environment goods and services. As I mentioned earlier, like we do need to have a bit like policy support and direction to harmonize that, like the what constitute the environmental goods and services even, and better global green trade and investment regulations are very important, and then also some guidelines on like supporting the trade finance in green sectors. So green trade finance and intensifying green government procurement is going to be quite helpful. So these efforts like all together can promote the the phase out these fossil fuel usages and then subsidies. With those policies, we actually like recently my final work with ADB on the net zero transition has been published, and then we give also the estimates of the cost and then economic cost and also of the green transition. And with those kind of like a collaborative regional policies, we can really get the net CO2 emissions to fall by almost 3%, and then real GDP and then trade could rise modestly. So that's a very important area. And then also for the regional central bank networks such as SEACEN can offer critical support for mobilizing green finance. We can make the contribution by promoting the regional harmonization of green taxonomy and improving the disclosure to increase the lending for green investment and climate adaptation. This is something that I already sort of like I mentioned, but there are many platforms that we are meeting actually to promote the ASEAN taxonomy, and ASEAN also has now the green roadmap with those kind of like efforts to harmonize the taxonomy across the region. And another good platform will be there's the like a ICEP. The ICEP has good potential to be able to promote also the green investment through harmonized efforts across ICEP members. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Just a moment. Okay, I'm audible. So we have only 7 minutes and 40 seconds to go. So I definitely go to Dr. Bambang. I'd like to thank Dean Bambang once again for taking up this important topic for the conference. And because of its relevance and timeliness, this topic will also be discussed at many other research institutions and public international organizations. So my question is, how ADBI will make a difference? What research project, events, and publications on this topic in the pipeline or emerging, and so on. So please, Dr. Dean Bambang, if your speech become little longer, then please conclude this session.
Okay, thank you, Sonobe Sensei. So ADBI will launch our flagship study about shaping Asia's future prosperity with quality growth. Basically, what we are trying to do, especially related to the regional cooperation and integration, is to find kind of new approach or new model of how the upper middle income Asia avoiding the middle income trap. And of course, as I mentioned before, we can, of course, we can have the reference from the East Asia miracle in 1990s. But since everything has been so much different compared to the 1990s, then learning also from the European EU case, then I believe regional cooperation and integration will be part of the new approach or the new model to attain the high income economy. And when we are discussing the regional cooperation and integration, especially in Europe, the EU, one of the success is kind of the initiative taken by the original member of EU, especially the big economies like France, Germany, Italy, in which they are really paying attention on how to, bring all these new members in Eastern European to come up with the new model of their macroeconomic management. And aside from setting up the norm and standard that has to be, strictly followed by the new members, they also did kind of real so-called economic action. And one of them is the FDI. And if we are talking about FDI in EU, it's quite clear if we look at the kind of the economic landscape of the Eastern European today, in which they are heavily becoming like industrialized country, especially in automotive industry. Of course, we are not expecting them to have their own brand, but certainly the famous brand still owned by majority of Western European countries, but the manufacturing taking place in Eastern European, meaning there is a real FDI from the West to the Eastern European. As well as, of course, aside from, providing the market integration, I think one of the most important thing EU has been doing is going to real economic integration. I think this is something missing in our part of the world, in which, of course, we have ASEAN. ASEAN is more like economic cooperation, but focusing more on the free trade among the ASEAN countries. And then we have ASEAN plus 3, more on the financial integration. We have RCEP trying to be like the trade bloc in East Asia. But this, ASEAN plus 3, RCEP, still considered or still treated as 3 different things. So they are not really integrated into the real idea of economic integration, at least for East Asia. And then if we look even at the ASEAN case, intra-trade in ASEAN, looks like that the portion of intra-trade in ASEAN declining, meaning that ASEAN doing more trade with outside the ASEAN countries. Of course, it's not a good sign that if ASEAN would like to be more integrated, then intra-ASEAN trade should be increasing rather than decreasing. And then I remember the Kuroda-san presentation in the keynote, in which he's trying to analyze the trade among Japan, China, and ASEAN. And conclusion is China is dominating. So now the question, if China is dominating in the trade among the 3 economies, the question is whether this is good for, helping the upper middle ASEAN to become high income economy, or should it be adjustment, for the role of the PRC? Of course, PRC, will be unavoidable when it comes to their domination in trade. But I believe they can, I mean, if we work toward economic integration, maybe PRC and other members, at least in ASEAN Plus 3 or RCEP member, can get into conclusion that we cannot just continue the business as usual in terms of doing the international trade, export and import, but rather we should work more on the supply chain, especially regional supply chain. And I really support Cyn-Young idea about regional supply chain in East Asia, focusing on two new business. One is sustainable or green business or green industrialization, for example, and the other is related to digital transformation. Because in Asia, I think we have all the materials ready for supporting both green economy, green industry, as well as digital industry. But it has to be in terms of supply chain rather than domination of one economy over another. So I think that could be one of the approach that ADBI is going to do, when we are doing the flagship study, in which RCI could be one of the breakthrough that we can propose, especially learning from the success of the Eastern Europe. I think Sonobe Sensei, that could be my remarks to respond to your question.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Bambang. So digital technologies and infrastructure will make virtual face-to-face communication more comfortable, reducing cost of providing services, especially the cost of exchanging knowledge and making mutual understanding drastically. So if we can use such a new technological progress wisely under appropriate regulation, there will be a great or drastic change or big leap of the world economy towards sustainability. And then that will also drive regional cooperation and integration further and further. So thank you very much once again, all the three discussants. So if we could use such great new technologies, then maybe I would say, let's give a round of applause to the three great discussants. Thank you very much. So this concludes the session.
Thank you.
Thank you.
very
Thank you
much.
so
Thank
much.
you. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
Thank you,
Thank
Cyn-Young.
you.
Thank you, Dr.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Justine.
ADBI. Thank you, Bambang,
Thank you,
Bambang,
Sonobe
and thank
Sensei.
you, Cyn-Young.
Bye, Dr. Thank you.
Bye. I think the session is concluded, and I look forward to see you all again tomorrow. We will have 2 panel discussion starting at 9 o'clock Japan time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Arif. Bye.
Thank you very much, Sonobe.